Good morning. Thought you were going to do the Vietnam thing.
You know, I think about that every time, but I don't have the pipes for it.
You don't got it?
You know what I do have, though, Matt?
Zima.
Oh, yeah.
Is the dog here today?
It's a White Claw. No, the dog's not here. And I think last week, I didn't go through it. Like, our podcast comes out early on YouTube.
I tried to look. I couldn't find it.
The dog getting caught in the cord? I couldn't either. I think they edited it out.
Yeah, probably did. Good job, guys.
Yes, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, well,
I could see
the
him
dog totally ripped down all your stuff. That's great.
I could see the dog doing laps around the table. That was hilarious. Just sniffing around.
Gosh. How was your travels? Just got back.
Oh, man, it was amazing. Yeah, so just so great to see people's faces, out, and everyone was like manic.
Oh,
and it was like hugging and partying.
So good to see you.
Yeah, and there was a lot of club owners from California that came out.
Oh,
and they were like, you'd see them come into the lobby of the hotel like stunned, covered in hazmat suits, and they look around and they just rip it off and start dancing.
Anybody die?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
not
good.
yet.
It's good.
But we will.
It's always interesting. Everybody gets out for the first time. I bet there's some people who got loose, didn't they?
Yes.
Well, we may not be able to talk about it on here, but yeah.
We can. I have one particular, no. Let me give a shout out to so-and-so who thoroughly embarrassed themselves by throwing up and falling on the floor. Yeah, it's always fitness is fun when you get people that don't party a lot out and they haven't been out in a year and a half. It was wild, but it was so much fun. But it was a great conference too. Like shout out to Tim Lyons and Randy Angston. They did an amazing job putting the show together. He always does things top notch, and they're actually thinking about putting another one together in Nashville.
Cool.
This year.
All right.
Well, no one else is doing live shows, so it's like people are just
Take it
stoked.
over.
Yeah, to get out.
Can you bring me along at least?
We'll see. But you have enough to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
She'll lock you in your office. You know what we're going to talk about today, Matt?
Yeah, you ask that every time. We did discuss it before we started.
Well, we're supposed to act like we didn't discuss it.
No, that's not. They can see your paper.
Oh, okay. Quit cheating off my paper. Bastard.
What are we talking about today, Rick?
We're talking about what would be the ideal number of members for a gym. And let's specify a personal training gym.
Got it.
And it's based on a theory called Dunbar's number.
Yes.
And there's a British, let me see, I've got it written down because I couldn't remember his name. He is an evolutionary anthropologist.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. Study old things that evolve. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's an evolutionary anthropologist from Britain, and this is in the early 90s, and he's done all these studies on primate brains and social circles and size of that and how it affects how people evolve. Mm-hmm. And what he came up with was what he considered to be the ideal number of people in your circle, if you will, that you can have close relationships with. And this isn't like family and friends. This would be like take family and friends and set those aside and then say, okay, just in my social circle in general, what's an ideal size group of people that I can know all of their names, right? That I can know something personal about them, and then I can maintain a deeper than surface level relationship with. And that number was 150. So Dunbar's number is also known as the law of 150. And that's the number that he came up with. And so when we dug into this, because obviously we're working in a small footprint model with a small number of people. And when we look at the differences between retention, right, in this model, the differences in even during COVID, like who fared the best across many, many states and many, many models, what model fared the best? And lo and behold, it was the smaller model. Call it what you want, right? The smaller training gym. And Mike Waldron, who's in town last week, our CFO, just confirmed like unequivocally the smaller the model, right, the better off it was during COVID.
Pandemic,
And then you look at it and you're like, well, I wonder why. It's like, well, a smaller group of people, there's inherently more trust.
Yep.
There is a relationship. Again, if you use Dunbar's number, it's like that's the number. That's about the number of members, maybe a hair less than that go into, like an alloy model.
Yeah.
Could they maintain not only relationship with the owner of the business and the coaches, but with each other as well?
The people,
Yeah, with the other people in there. And that's kind of what it's saying. And so, that's what held up. It looked, we held up better overall. The retention's better. That's why we have this industry-leading retention that we claim, right? Second is, COVID was probably put the biggest stress on, fitness centers or personal training places. These models fared the best compared against other models, certainly against class-based models where you've got 24 people crammed in a room, right?
Sure.
But I think a lot of it just boils down to trust and tight relationships. I mean, we're wired a certain way as humans, right? And he looks at animal groups, primates, everything else, and how that works. And we're kind of all in some ways similar. And so it seems to cross all those boundaries, right? And hold true.
So we always talk about it builds that community where it's, it's stickier. You have other people in your life that you talk with and do things outside of the gym with, and that's why they don't leave. And that's what we always preach, right?
Yeah, but it could be literally as simple. The thing is, and that's sort of that Occam's razor that we talked about. Like, what's the cause of this? Is it your reward system? Is it the retention? Is it the level of the coaches? Is it the programming? Yes to all, but could it maybe be because the actual footprint and the size of the place is so small that it by default feels more like family and more like a group that you can identify with and that you can be close with, right? Yeah. Based on Dunbar's number or the law of 150.
True. Yeah.
So I've got some other really interesting facts here, since I know that you know that you like facts, Matt.
I love facts.
You love facts. Okay. So other areas where just silly stuff, but other areas where this showed up. So Neolithic farming communities. What does that mean to you?
What the heck is that?
I thought you lived in one of those.
This is like Amish?
No, that's different. Oh. But it was also the
I don't know.
Mennonites. I'm like, no. Amish? No.
Sorry if I offended anybody. I don't know.
Maasai tribe? No, not them either. Just keep going. I'm enjoying the hell out of this. No. Keep shooting for it, Matt.
Hit me. What is it?
I don't know either. Well, duh, Matt. It's a Neolithic farming community. Everyone knows that. Anyway, I don't have time for you right
now. Big glow sticks.
Exactly. It's basically a rave, but back in the olden days.
Okay.
Before we had glow sticks.
Oh, all right.
You just squished some lightning bugs and swung them around your body.
Oh, my gosh.
And ate some of those mushrooms that grew under the cow poop out in the fields, and you had a blast. Right. Also, the Roman military, they kept their groups at 150 or less.
Okay.
And as you mentioned.
How'd that work for them in battle?
Well, it worked well until it didn't, and then they just disappeared. So hopefully we're not right behind them.
The army with 300.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, it's different, dude. That was the Persians. Come on. You're so bad. Matt only does fitness and programming, and for those of you guys that get our fitness and programming, that ought to make you that'll be very encouraging for you. Does nothing else. No leather mountain books. Oh man. Okay, so you read Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Yeah.
You read The Tipping Point.
Uh-huh.
So in The Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell uses this example of Dunbar's number, and he talks about the company that makes Gore-Tex. I think they're Gore. Maybe just Gore. I don't know if they're called Gore-Tex. But anyway, so this company has taken Dunbar's number to heart. And the way that they do that is if they have a group, a department, if you will, that gets larger than 150,
yep,
they'll split it.
Yep.
And they'll create another group and another group. And they've done that as they've grown over time. And they've been constantly, ranked one of the highest, efficiency companies and most productive, great to work for. And I think when you look at that environment, it would be, absence of name tags and general trust in each other. And, we talked about trust in the last podcast, right? And how important that is. So trust in each other, the ability to work for the person next to you as opposed to like the man, if you will. It's not this.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
They're all working together as opposed to when they get too big, they have to compartmentalize and there's this group does that. Was it the management systems completely changed?
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of thing. I mean, yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you got it. And so once all that changes, the dynamics change, it gets less personal. You're not so much working with and for the people next to you. You're working for, air quotes, corporate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Another plan by the man. Keep your brother down. So exactly. So you think about that, a company that's successful and that large doing that, it's really interesting. But I think when it's full circle back, like what's the ideal number of members in your gym? Listen, if you have a huge gym, I get it. But if you're in the boutique space, I wouldn't want to have a model that needed 700 to 800 people because you're just not going to be able to keep intimate relationships with everyone.
Your churn's going to be way, way higher, right?
Yeah, and we've seen that, right? The average stay for class-based models in the U.S. is 3 to 7 months. You could say 5 months. The average spend is around $129 a month. Look at Alloy, you're near $300 a month and 36 months stay. So, like we talked about that, how that, there's a lifetime value difference of $10,000 versus like $650. I mean, that's a massive difference.
Right.
So that's the business side of it. But I also think, it's just I don't know, it's maybe the right thing to do. Like a lot of the folks that we're talking to for franchising for the Alloy personal training model, they are getting into a franchise because they want to make money and the metrics have to make sense. Check. But they're also doing it because it's something that they feel is good to do. Like their business is going to do good. And that's really important to folks, right? I mean, it's something that they can give back to their community. They've always been interested personally in health and fitness. They know the benefits of it. And so if you're that person, that 150 number should be really important because it basically says you're going to be able to build a small tribe of people that like and trust you, that like and trust each other.
Right.
And I think ultimately what it means is that you're going to be able to run a business model in fitness that is all about fitness. And I say that because anyone listening to that's in fitness or anyone that is, thinking about getting into fitness, the larger the model, the more the whole play becomes about acquisition. And it's sort of the tough thing in the market right now, right? And so if you're constantly chasing acquisition because you're on this churn wheel, right, of people in, people out, you get these revolving doors in your facility, you're basically a marketing and sales business that just happens to do fitness on the side.
Yep.
Whereas with our model, and you get a less than 150, they stickier, they stick around longer, they like each other, they like you. It's like, great. Then you're in an actual fitness model because you ramp quick, right? You have a great pre-sale, which we've done so far. You get your number, you get your tribe and your family together. And then it's about that 20-mile march of just like, hey, I've got this tribe of people. I'm going to keep them really happy. Sure, people are going to move and, they're going to have things come up in their lives and they're going to leave. But at a churn rate of, 3% a month, sitting on 150 members was like 4 people,
Yeah.
Not a lot of people.
Yeah. This is funny talking about, just thinking about it now, I remember, go back 10 years ago or whatever long that was where we had 550 to 600 members. And I remember being a part of that growth. And at one point, we got so big that even you clients would say things to you like, oh, it just doesn't feel the same anymore. It's not the same place. And it really was all because of that. We outgrew our community and no longer were that.
100%. Now we were sitting on 8,000 feet and we were also offering like 4 different verticals of pricing. So we had people that did it on their own. We had classes, we had personal training, which was always the biggest line item of revenue for us. And then we had a little bit of one-on-one. So we had all these things going on. And you're right. We lost the relational side of the relationship. And as you know, when you do that, then it becomes about money and then it's transactional.
Yeah.
And if it's transactional, then you're just competing on price with everybody in the market. You're not competing on community, stickiness, results. It's like, okay, we're just competing on, we're trying to be, air quotes, best workout in town. It's kind of an empty claim, right?
Right.
You can do burpees till you're sick. That doesn't mean it's the best workout in town, but it might get you sweaty.
No.
Yeah. I like burpees. But I think there's something to it. I think if a company is as progressive and as good as Gore-Tex, if it's written about by Malcolm Gladwell, something that's interesting, I'm certainly going to pay attention to it.
Sure.
And when I looked at it through the lens of the R model and why it's been so successful and why it's also been so successful during trying times, there's probably something to it. Would you agree?
Makes total sense.
So if you're listening to this and you own a big gym, shrink it. And if you don't own a gym, buy an Alloy personal training franchise and save yourself some headaches.
There you go.
Sound good?
Boom.
All right, guys. Word.
Thanks.